I developed what you guys, well, Michael hasn't seen it, but what you were kind enough to allow me to show you was the pre-screening software, which is the utmost aspect of creativity. For those that haven't seen it, I felt like I was cornered. I felt like my back was against the wall when I first got the news of this being a reality in a hot spot of New York, which is now a hot spot of Boston. And I was nervous because I felt I have to do something to mitigate the claims and the onslaught to stop the bleeding for guys like you who handle short-term disability. And if you want to just dabble a little bit on what you had seen and what your thoughts were on that pre-screening technology?
Well, sure. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was a slick kind of technology tested in another industry. I think it lines up certainly it lines up real well to what's going on right now. Again, and it's all to stem the volume of claims that hit our system that are not valid. And we're going to get a lot of those relative to some of the confusion, even though, some of the changes relative to PFL and FML have been clearly stated. You're still going to have some confusion at the employer level in terms of what is a valid COVID claim or what is not a valid COVID claim. So I thought it was perfect for this scenario. However, I think it's got a long game too, in terms of just in general, cutting down on some of the administrative costs that we incur and others incur, taking in paper claims, quite frankly. I bet you the industry still sees the majority of their claims in a paper format versus electronic. But in my mind, I almost viewed it as, hey, this is kind of a good first step into really trying to push it more into the electronic environment. So, for my money, I loved it. I think it's something that the industry could use because I think it certainly pre-qualifies a lot of claims up front. And I know that like our organization could probably use something like that.
What we're discussing now are plans for the future, right? We addressed the past and how we met, we addressed the present, and that would be a perfect way to get into the future. Mike, you were close to my pop and you would come out to a couple of family functions in the past and he enjoyed taking you out. And I remember going out one day in the Hamptons and we were having some fun. And he had said to me, when you were there at that party, it felt bad kind of for you and I don't know if you were there or not, but he had said, there's been more changes in the first 10 years of our business than there was in the first 30. He goes, you guys graduate, we're relatively the same age. 9/11 is our senior year in college, give or take. I personally get married in 2008 during the worst crash of my lifetime, excluding the one in the 80s when I wouldn't remember anyway. Fast forward to what Chuck had just said, and we met, and Zork happens to exit, and Hurricane Sandy demolishes Long Island and parts of the eastern seaboard. But that's not enough. AmTrust decides to get out in October, and now a pandemic. So, it's like, how are people just not hitting right to this? You got to be strong. You got to be.
Looks pretty empty there, Mike. That's like maybe 1/3 left.
It's bad.
That's gone. Yeah.
By the way, that's just from this morning.
Was that, just real quick, just to clarify so I can keep my dates and times correct, was that the white party that you went to, Michael, out of the Hamptons?
It was the white party. But yeah, no, I remember it vividly, and he's right. Like the changes are amazing. And I remember, I know you've been sending a lot of emails out about the net revenue tracker, and I remember literally vividly almost every visit to your office. Your father would call me in, but he would take a break from his pencil and his paper, and he was putting numbers to paper.
Dave always had a calculator and a pad and pen at every meeting. Yeah. And you knew that you were having a good discussion with Dave when he started playing the keys.
It's amazing. He was keeping everything in order, but how time consuming it was. So the fact that you made that electronic is awesome.
And where I'm sitting, I'm focused on a tipping point of continuing to do what has made us successful, but also get into more of the financial tech space, which you guys approached with the pre-screening questionnaire, Chuck, and the net revenue tracking. And that's where my head is at. And if you guys could continue to be a part of that in some way, shape, or form, brokers know about it, and they'll continue to know about it. And by that, we'll be helping one another. So that's all you can do.